everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a quick and intimate gathering, not just as colleagues in the industry, but as friends who need emotional and moral support in an ever tumultuous time. We're here, of course, to connect or reconnect for the most of you with Father Tribu, who will talk about remaining firm and strong despite all these professional and personal challenges that come our way. Now, I know that remote and work from home arrangements haven't been the easiest to manage, especially when it comes to work life balance. So, before we begin, I'd like everyone to take deep breaths and try to put all lingering stresses in the back burner while we're here. Hmm. Okay, sige. To get us started, I'd like to call on Charles Lim for some opening remarks. Sir Charles?
Hey, I think you said everything. You've
Oh.
been a great understudy. Oh dear. No, I'd just like to express my appreciation to all of you for taking time off and being with us this afternoon. Yeah, very delighted to have all of you here. When I sort of bumped into Father Richie a few months ago in Manila, I mean, we were just talking about a lot of things, and somehow it was all focused on our friends, the people we work with, the people we had so much fun on either side of the fence, and we got this idea about him meeting up with all of us, especially those who have worked with him or those who have really tortured him or mentored him during his time as a journalist, and he liked the ideas very much, and I said that okay, we will just probably arrange a Zoom meeting like this where he could really meet up with old friends and talk about his new vocation right now, and on what he was able to apply his previous vocation as a reporter to what he's doing now, and so on and so forth. Anyway, um, I will just like to say thank you very much, Father Richie or Father Tribo. I think he still prefers to be known as Tribo, and I think he misses all of us calling him that. So, with his kind permission, I started calling him Father Tribo, and I'm sure all of us could do that so that he would appreciate his true friends who are here all this afternoon. So, without further much ado, once again, thank you very much for taking time off, and I hope that you will uh, enjoy and appreciate an afternoon like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Finally, to introduce us to the speaker himself, I'd like to call on Miss Mimi Lijauco. Hi, Miss Mim.
Hi. Hi, guys. Most of you know him as Chibo Salgado from way back when he wrote for print publications, CDN, and The Freeman. But maybe not many are aware that he is a licensed physical therapist. No? And now he is Father Richie Salgado, Ocarm, a member of the Order of Carmelites in the Philippines. He's also currently desk editor of Bulatlat, an alternative online publication publishing news, special reports, features, commentary, and multimedia on Philippine politics, human rights, the economy, and people's issues. In 2011, Father Ritchie was chosen by the College of Mass Communication of the UP Diliman to be part of the 15th Graciano Lopez Haina Fellowship grants. And in 2018, he was sent to the Netherlands and Germany to attend the international course for Carmelite student friars and get to know Blessed Titus better. On a personal note, Tribo and I have been friends since the early 2000s. We moved in the same circles, and even now, although Father Richie has been based in Metro Manila since 2015 and has expanded his reach, as a man of cloth. So, again, thank you, Father, for sharing your precious time with us. And friends, say hello to still very youthful looking Father Richie Salgado,
Yeah,
your
hey,
revered father.
Miss Mimi, Sir Charles, Gabe, thank you so much. No, susto, gipamingaw naman ko ninyo. Sir Charles, is it okay if sometimes mag Bisaya or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Filipino?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure, sure.
Thank you so much,
Certainly.
Sir Charles. So, ayun. Yun nga, when Sir Charles and I met in Makati, no, so naistoryahan na mo na maybe we would it would be nice, no, na marag reunion sad ba bisag online reunion, no, di na tong pareha sa unang magkita sa Figaro no, sa mga kung sa tawag ani during coverages, no, so ayun, so pero maybe one of these days, no, makakita-kita po tayo. Kami di ay in the Order of Carmelites, one of our ministries is naa sa media ministry, particularly on the pastoral care of media workers. So we give mga retreats for media workers and spiritual enrichment tawag ko. No, so muna siya. So maybe hopefully we will partner more with Selrahco, no, and Sir Charles to give you this kanang ginagmay nga retreat. Ah ang gusto na akong i-introduce sa inyo karon is ang patron namo sa Carmelite Philippines, no, si Blessed Titus Brandsma, no, which dili kayo siya familiar sa atua. Good kay blessed pa man gud siya, no. Then wala pang pug kaayo na promote, but hopefully by next year he will be declared a saint, no, since ang miracle nga gihulat which is katong sakit ni Father Michael D. Scroll from the US na skin cancer. He got cured and it was found na unexplainable ang iyang cure. But anyway, share screen ko, Gabe.
Yes, Father. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, mao ni untay akong i-share, no, sa inyo Gabe, murag na ay entering sa waiting room. Si Titus
Oh, yes.
Brandsma,
Okay. Thank you.
Christian Faith and Press Freedom. Kasi Titus Brandsma, he is known to be the one of the patrons for press freedom, no? And ayun. So muna siya. Who is Titus Brandsma? So first, Titus Brandsma is a Carmelite first and foremost, no? And as a Carmelite, he was so engrossed in mysticism and spirituality. So mao ni siya one of the gifts of the Order of Carmelites, no, sa church. And mysticism and spirituality mo, we are not prayerful ko, no, na prayerful daw, no. But you may know the Carmelites diha sa Mabolo, no, the sisters Carmelites, but they are discalced Carmelites. Ang akong nasudlan is different. We are of the ancient observance, no. So mutong pagsulod nako sa Carmelites, that was in 2013, no. Gitawag ko sa one of the priests diha sa Talamban, no, and pagsulod nako ito nga nangutan na siya nako na kanang kaila ba ka kabalo kag sa mga Carmelites. Oo, padre. Abi na og madre akong sudlan de dili man de. No. So before the nuns came, although the nuns in the Philippines, the nuns are more famous than the priest, because gamay-gamay pa man ni ng mga pare, except perhaps for the discals. Ubay-ubay na po ang atong mga discals brothers, and mas dato sila kumbaga, no, because they have a shrine and a minor basilica, no? So but mas kilala, mas nailhan nato ang mga madre niya. Usually mo adto dayon, magdala og itlog, kay magpaampo, no. So the Carmelites are known for spirituality and mysticism. And in Titus Brandsma's desire to have such an intimate relationship with God, no? He was a good Catholic, so he was studying the teachings of the church and defending its ideals. He was a good priest, fulfilling his obligation in shepherding his flock. Pero he was also a good academician, imparting the knowledge he has gained to those wanting to learn. He was a good journalist, firm, probing, principled, and fearless. And he was a martyr who, despite the suffering that he underwent, he never forgot to take care of his fellow prisoners. And I think that it is very timely that we get to know his story, no? Kasi karon nga kanang murag grabe kay ang atong sitwasyon, no, usahay wa ta kabalo kung unsay atong himuon, especially sa mga media workers, no, sa among nakaistorya nga mga media workers, na ang usa sa ilang mga problema is they are always fearful ba, no, every time they go to a coverage, kay wa sila kabalo kung makuha sila sa COVID, no. In fact, many of the media workers here, especially katong mga gagmay ba nga mga media workers, no, they got COVID, no, and sadly wala ta dayon na prioritize ba sa vaccination, although dili pud tanan ang ganahan pud magpa-vaccine. So but anyway, mao na siya. So to know kung giunsa ni Titus Brandsma nga malampasan, no, ang iyahang mga naagian nga kalisod, no, grabe jud ka, grabe jud nga kalisod ang iyahang naagian, ingon ta murag, di ba, murag dili nato ma-imagine, no, nga mahitabo sa usa ka tawo. But anyway, si Titus as a journalist, no, when it comes to writings, Titus has tons of it. Daghan kay siya mga research, academic papers, kay he was also the kumbaga murag the dean, or he was one of the founders of Radboud University in Nijmegen in the Netherlands. So he dreamt of putting up a Catholic university, and that's how Radboud University came about, no? And because of that, no, ang Radboud is actually one of usa sa mga sikat nga university sa Netherlands, no? In fact, ang Nijmegen murag like for example sa Dumaguete, no, Dumaguete is known to be a university town, no? So ang Nijmegen mura pug ingana, and it's because of Radboud University. So before it was called the Catholic University of Nijmegen, pero eventually it was renamed into Radboud. So kaya he had a lot of academic papers, no, reflections on mysticisms, Carmelite spirituality, and opinion on pressing issues of his time. Para kang Titus Manggod, no, his writing is his outlet, no, of a means of communicating with others what he has learned through his studies. So mudyo to ang iyang reason when he became a journalist, when he started writing for a newspaper, no, because he wanted to he said manggod nga dili man tanan ako maabot, no, dili man tanan ang eskwela, dili tanan ang moapil sa ako ang lecture. So for me to be able to reach a wider audience, he decided na to write for a newspaper. So writing was his means of evangelizing. Writing also became his medium to express the overflowing spiritual treasures that he gained through his studies. So in fact, no, there was a time in Oz na the city of Oz, no, OSS, decided na magbutang sila og image or statue ng Sacred Heart of Jesus sa tunga sa ilahang plaza, no. But later on na when the Netherlands became very secular na murag ilan siyang gi-transfer ang statue. But there was a discussion manggod kasi what they wanted was to come up with a statue nga the usual nga atong makita nga Sacred Heart no nga naa sa gawas ang kasing-kasing ni Jesus. Pero for Titus, dili na siya dapat ingana, diba? I mean, how could people relate to someone na murag naas gawas ang heart? That is very impossible. Murag gusto manggod niya na Christ would be depicted as someone na dali ra nato maabot, no? In his being human. No, so para kang Titus dapat nasa sulod ang heart kay murag imposible po din ang heart nasa gawas, no? So siya muto nga kanang nagtiglalis jud siya ba, so and he used the newspaper as a means for him to vent out his thoughts on this matter and this issue, no? Pero eventually no niabot gud sa Vatican na ilahang discussion para na for that particular statue, no? So grabe. But eventually it was decided by the Vatican that the what we know of the Sacred Heart, no, nga naa sa gawas ang iyang heart, no, mao to siya moy kumbaga ni daog. So mao na siya ang statue no, naa sa gawas ang heart ni Jesus. And aside from that, si Titus also tackled on such topics and on social issues no of his time, like women's voting rights and even on alcoholism. But perhaps no what would best personify Titus as a principal journalist in the line of the prophet Elijah. Kasi for us Carmelites, Elijah is a very important figure. In fact, there was a time when it was said that kasi ang founder daw sa mga Carmelites, ang founder kuno sa mga Carmelites is si Prophet Elijah. Imagine kung si Prophet Elijah na ng mga Carmelites, no? Parang nauna pa mi kang Jesus. Pero no, eventually, for a very long time, for centuries, maujud na mo nag-propagate sa order nga history na mo ba. But we came to admit na Elijah has nothing to do with us, no? Pero wala gihapon mi founder, no? Wala gihapon founder ang mga Carmelites. Wala po Saint Carmelite, no? Wala pa Saint Carmelite nga ngalan, no? Di parehas Augustinians. Augustinians was founded by Saint Augustine, no? The Franciscans by Saint Francis, no? Pero ang mga Carmelites, dili siya founded by Saint Carmelite. Wala pa Saint Carmelite, no? So, wala siya. So, munang for us, but still, the Carmelites manggod, we started in the 1200s, no? The early 1200s, late 1100s. Katuning mga kuan, mga pilgrims to the Holy Land. Mga, ansay tawag ani, katong mga soldiers, mga crusaders, no? Nga niadto sa Holy Land, kay mangilog sila sa yuta sa mga, no? So, dito. So eventually when they decided na to stay in, nag-awol sila, no, nag-awol, and they stayed in the caves in Mount Carmel. Ang Mount Carmel lisod kay siya sudlon, no? So munang wala pud siya naabot sa mga katong mga Saracens, no, or katong mga kuan. So dito sila nagtago sa mga caves. So when they decided to come together, no, katong mga lain-lain nga mga hermits in the different caves, kay daghan man siya kay mga caves. So when they decided to come together at least once a week, once a month, no, to pray, then na foresee nila nga murag dili na sila welcome dito kay kanang i-invade sila sa mga Saracens, no? So mabalik na sila sa Europe, no? So they decided na to come up with a mahimog usa ka congregation, no? And that's how the Carmelites began, no? But anyway, in line of the prophet Elijah, si Titus Brandsma, no, the way he addressed the pressures of National Socialists or the Nazis was putting on the Catholic press for them to publish the propaganda. Maunang dito siya murag mas ni mitingkad ang iyahang pagka-prophet, no. So in 1935 he was appointed by Cardinal Jan de Jong sa Archbishop of Utrecht as spiritual advisor to the Dutch Catholic journalists. And it was in this capacity that he decided to talk to the Catholic papers and demanded from them to live up to their being Catholics by denouncing the evil of his time, which was Nazism. At that time kasi, if you are not a Catholic newspaper, mabankrupt jud ka kay wala may mo patronize sa imuhang newspaper. So they have to carry the brand na Catholic, no. They have to consider themselves as a Catholic newspaper. So ingan na kakusog pa at that time sa Europe ang influence ng Catholic Church, no. Pero today it's a totally different situation, no. And the mention of religion is parang it's a cause of disdain for many, no. Parang they don't want to associate themselves with religion. Mura siya novelty. When I was in Netherlands, ang mga kauban ng mga igsuon ng mga Carmelites sa Central and South America, they want to wear the habit all the time, no? Kani siya, yeah. Kana mura man sad mig mga mga Harry Potter, no, kay naman nana-ana. So they want to wear it all the time, no, even when they sleep. Nag-habit sila. So, while walking dito sa Netherlands, so makakita ang mga tao, parang naa sila sa museum. Unsa man ni sila. No? Yeah. Napay ka tong mga itong kaayo. No? So, kami lang mga Indonesian, mga Asian, ay dili kayo, mga Europeans, dili kayo muwe sa habit. But anyway, so, hingon si Father Leopold Gleckert, no, in his book Titus Brandsma, Prior Against Fascism, he wrote that on the morning of December 30, he consulted the Archbishop, no, si Blessed Titus, and was warned against rash action. Sabi ni Titus na, they'll find it easier to arrest you than me, yun si Cardinal Jan de Jong, no, but Titus insisted na I can act more easily than you. I can travel, advise, and evoke a kind of fidelity that may astound everyone. Of course, kay si Cardinal de Jong, kuan man siya, personality man siya, so dali rin siya mailhan, no? Dali makita. But for Titus, nga dili kay siya ilado, no? So makalakaw-lakaw rin siya bisag asa. In a way, he was willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of the truth. Yan na pa si Gleckert. He met with the editors of Die Gelderlander, no? Usa sa mga newspapers sa Netherlands, and the suppressed Die Maasboot, no? So pero karon printing na pud ni sila, and who held the same position as he did. Surprisingly, they were not discouraged. The editors of the Gelderlander and the Maasboot, no? So they also wanted to join Titus in his effort, no? Yet because they mistrusted some of the other editors, they doubted that a united front was possible. So here we can feel the frustration that he must have felt on hearing this, no? Wanting so much and believing with certainty on the need for a united front in order to strongly oppose the tyrants of his time. No, the next day, ingon si Gleckert, no, na he said that Titus wrote a circular which was distributed by him personally to all Catholic papers in the Netherlands. No, at sa circular, he grants the right of the occupation forces according to Dutch and international law, but he quickly adds that the NSB, siya ang National Socialist, the Nazis, has attacked Catholic dogmas and has proclaimed ideas contrary to religion itself. The pressure on the press was such that readers are no longer sure whether they are reading Catholic papers or not. It is often difficult to know at what point one must desist. No? So, mauna siya kay Titus Manggod, he believes that the ideals of the skip lang ako, Hasper. The ideals of the Nazis dili jud siya haum sa Christian ideals, no, sa Catholic dogmas. Kay for Nazism, they are more focused on themselves, no, on the superior race. They believe that there is a superior race and there is a minor race, no. Ang superior race mo tong the Aryan race, no? The German race, blue-eyed, no, mga puti, mga taas, no, pero si Hitler dili taas, no. Pero mga blue eyes, and the rest are mga inferior races, no, mga kumbaga para sa ilaha, they are cockroaches, they are insects, no, they don't deserve to live, no. Ang ilang life is to serve the masters, no. So para sa for Titus, that is not what the church teaches, no. No, the church teaches inclusivity, no. The church teaches us to love everyone regardless of the differences that we have, no. So at least that's what the church teaches now. His being a Carmelite figured in his being a journalist, no. So he was a journalist because for Titus, writing was a way of sharing what he has learned to others and to have a medium that would allow his writing to be read by as many people as possible. And it was natural for him to be attracted to the profession. As a journalist, he was probing, always questioning, and he did not limit himself to certain topics. He studied and he shared his stories not only to inform but also to allow people to reach an encounter with God. It was his way of evangelizing. It was his way of speaking of spreading the good news. As a journalist, he was fearless. He stood by what he believed was right, and his decisions are ruled and guided by the teachings of the church and the Holy Scripture. As a journalist, he was firm, and yet he was compassionate. As much as he does not bend his principles, he understands those who decide to contradict his point of view, those who act so unchristian despite professing to be Christians. He does not judge, and that is why it is easy for him to encourage people to forgive, kasi he himself was an image of forgiveness, and that gives him authority over what it means to be forgiving and to be forgiven. I mean, kasi our gospel today also talks about authority, you know, how Jesus commanded authority and people were impressed because of that. No? So in his homily sa beatification ni Titus Brandsma, si Pope St. John Paul II, no, he summarized Titus being a journalist as, he said, the heart of Father Tito could not remain indifferent to the many brothers who were outside the academic institutions and who could also wish for a word of clarification. For them, he became a journalist. So that is Titus. And it was his being a journalist, his desire to bring the good news to the most number of people that eventually brought him to prison and to his eventual release from the pains and suffering of life. So Titus is known to be the martyr of press freedom because he died trying to make sure that the Dutch Catholic newspapers remain independent, living up to the ideals of there being a Catholic paper. Kasi you cannot carry the brand Catholic. Even now, pwede ka let's say, Catholic school, you cannot claim your school to be a Catholic school if you don't meet a certain criteria. No? So, but anyway, press freedom is indispensable in the practice of journalism. Without it, there will be no open discourse of ideas. We would have a hive mind, so to speak, no? And that would be very dangerous. Journalists have a very important role in helping the community discern what is best for them and the community. And for a Christian media outfit to ensure that the ideals of Christian values are imparted in every story published. This is what Titus tried to defend, born out of his convictions that we should be bearers of Christ in everything that we do. And by that, meaning that the good news of God's kingdom, of the pamamayani sa paghahari ng kagandahang loob ng Diyos, o kung sa Bisaya pa, ang pagpatigbabaw sa paghari sa maayong kabubuton sa Ginoo should always be the purpose of what we do. Ang atong pagpakita nga sa atong kinabuhi, the reign of God's kingdom is always there. That is kaginhawahan, ginhawa na ato ang dapat na makabot, no? Or actually, that is what salvation is all about. And if we help promote the despotic rule of a tyrant, if we allow our outfits to be used to spread a culture of impunity, what would happen? So that was the concern of Titus. So today, especially now sa pandemic, the freedom of the press is once again being challenged with many independent and critical media outfit and personalities being harassed, pressured, and even killed. So, muna siya. Actually, pero di na kaayo kumudwell. I have some data, no? Di na kaayo kumudwell anin, so that we would have more time to talk, no? So, we have data from the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, Bulatlat, sorry ha, favorite ko Bulatlat. Tawag ko Bulatlat, good. And the Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility, no? So, data coming from them would make us cringe, no, at the reality of press freedom violations even until now, no. The Sumada, or the State of the Media address of the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines last July 24, they mentioned na in the digital news report of Reuters Institute, no, not from NUJP but from Reuters, which states that there is a major revenue drop for media outfits because of the pandemic. In fact, also due to this pandemic and perhaps for other reasons, no, ang atong mga igsuon sa Sunstar CPO and Sunstar Baguio, no, they folded up. No? So add to that, no, the 4,500 ABS-CBN workers who were laid off, no, natay mga kauban sa media diha sa Cebu, no, at this time of the pandemic. So grabe ang stress. When the network was shut down by the government, and for this reason, ingon nga ang NUJP, they noted that 7 out of 10 journalists would take other jobs or would venture into small businesses in order for them to survive. No, and a sad truth also came out during the focus group discussions ng different NUJP chapters, no, is that 4 out of 10 photojournalists, no, they are earning only 2,500 pesos a month. Kaluoy kaayo. So nga na stress nga ato ang na experience, no, as media workers. It's a reality. No? And yun nga, so these are some of the attacks and threats that was recorded by CMFR, pero that was 2018, and this is from the NUJP, no? So NUJP, we are ranked as the 138th in the World Press Freedom Index, no? 20 journalists killed, 200 cases of attacks versus journalists, no? 37 cases of libel and cyber libel filed versus journalists, no? So attacks kami karon sa Bulatlat, sige may gi-attack anang gitawag nilang DDoS, no? Ang kasing DDoS, denial of service attack, kanang kakuan mo anang mga malwares na usahay natay ka ng murag free kuan daw na free nga mga shoes nga kuan, just click on this, just click pud ta nya dili ito ba, all the while na malware nga masulod pa install diri unconsciously diri sa ato ang computer, and once ma-activate na siya, it will send murag usa na siya sa mga muflad, no, sa usa ka website nga atakihon, no. So that's the DDoS, no. So coming from different computers na different networks nga may on one day, no, naa kay millions of viewers, no, mo access sa imuhang website and ma-overwhelm ang imuhang server, so ma-close ang imuhang website, no. Although mingon daghang kayo viewers ato ang website kanindot ana daghang advertisers. So but no, it's an attack para masarado ang imuhang ang inyuhang website. So muna ka nang na-experience na mo karon diri sa bulatlat, no? So pero we are happy kay naamang good me partner ang Curium, no, from a Swedish na murag NGO, Swedish NGO na sila ang naga-prevent nga makuan o dili kaay ang effect sa kaning mga DDoS attacks is dili kaayo at para sa amo kay unsa ra man gutawon ang say tawag ani wala may resources ang bulatlat. To be honest, no, in fact murag volunteer po ko diha ba kay kami ra gud tawo, no, adoy kaayo. Pero mao lagi we try to keep up with kaning nga mga situations. So happy pud mi sa help sa Curium kay wala man mi pabayra sa Curium, no? Pero sila ang nakakuan nito, sila na discover nga ang katong attacks actually came from DOST na IP address, no? Pero di po mo amin ang DOST. But given these realities, no, what would Titus do? So what should we do, no, as media practitioners, and how could we hold on to our sanity, no, sa kani nga mga sitwasyon? So sorry, naapudi ay kanang mga story si Titus, no, na wala na ako na-appeal diri sa presentation. So Titus actually is an image, an example of his being kumbaga how we can actually keep our humanity, no, despite the situations that we are experiencing, no? How we are able to sustain our sanity, kumbaga. Kasi when Titus was arrested, he was already 60 years old. So, kumbaga tigulang na siya kaayo niya kanang gamay man ni siya nga tao, no, niya very thin, no, so niya masakiton ni siya, so naan ni siya murag something sa iyang tiyan, so sensitive kay ni siya nga tao. So he was arrested at 60 years old. Niya gidala siya, no, gi-interrogate siya na wala joy murag walay kaon-kaon, walay tinong nga interrogation for 24 hours, no, nya muto gidala siya dito sa gitawag nila nga Orange Hotel. It was a hotel, no, pero say tawag ani, it was made into a holding facility para sa mga Nazis. So after that, he was transferred to several other prisons, no, but every time he was promised that papaulion na siya, no, kasi wala lagi siya ikuan kana bang they have nothing against him, they cannot hold him, no. So pero murag psychological kuan ito, murag warfare ba, so was hoping nga gawas na siya nya pagkahuman dili di ay ibalhin di ay siya sa lain nga facility, no, gipalibot-libot ra jud siya until eventually gidala siya dito sa usa ka concentration camp, ang first concentration camp nga ang nagidadan sa iyahan, nakalimutan sa ngalan natin. But in that concentration camp, kasi pagsulod nimo sa concentration camp, di ba, hubuan ka, kanya kanang paliguan ka, kanang liguan ka, o literally disinfectant kay kuan daw kuno kaning mga prisoners ng ilang gidala, mga nagdala og mga peste, no. Mga kuto-kuto ana, so liguan kag Clorox literally, no, sa ka makasulob ato ilahang mga kuanya. Ang mga Nazis man color coding na sila na ang mga prisoners na sila kanang star sa ilahang kuan, sa ilang sanina nya color coded na siya, no. So kay lahi man gud na ilang mga prisoners. We have political dissenters, no. We have the Jews, of course, the Jews nga pinakakontra ni Hitler, no. Pero aside from that, ang kanang mga homosexuals, no? Kung ikaw bayot, no, you don't deserve to live, no? So prisuhon kanila, no? So muna siya. Then ang mga Jehovah's Witness, no? Jehovah's Witness, no? Specific jud kaayo na sila ilang kaugalingon nga marker ang mga Jehovah's Witness, no? Nanuman kay kasi the Jehovah's Witness they don't recognize any state as kuan nila, di ba? So para ni Hitler dili na mo makuha ang inyong loyalty. So you are an enemy of the state. No? So kanang mga gypsies, yung mga gypsies equivalent siguro na sa mga Badyaw diri sa ano, but they are particular race man ng mga gypsies. So mga gypsies muna sila ang mga gipang priso sa mga Nazis, no? So then naapod na sila particular cells, no? So kani siyang selda is para ni sa mga pari, mga religious, sagol-sagol na dito, mga pastor, mga kuan, basta mga religious, mga kuan ka, diha ka nga particular nga selda, no? Kung ikaw Jew, ikaw homosexual, mga Jehovah's Witness, lahi-lahi na sila og mga balay-balay kumbaga. So after niya dito gibalhin siya finally dito sa Dachau, no? Sa Dachau mauna siya kumbaga giingon nila nga training ground para sa mga Nazis, no? Training ground usaon nga murag mawala ang ilang pagkatao. Nanuman grabe ang ilang pag-abuso even among themselves, no? So murag kwaon nila ang ubang mga prisoners, no, loyalty sa mga prisoners, pagkahuman tagaan nila ginagmayng authority, ginagmayng power. So kani nga mga prisoners maupoy mo abuso sa ilang fellow prisoners. Kanya they were only given one bread to eat, no, ug tubig para ilang kanon, mura na ilang kanon throughout the day. Kanya ang ilang trabaho very physical, no, mag-aswat og mga bato, imagine magkalot, no, magkalot niya pagkahuman nagoy one time na gidala mi sa usa ka murag ground ba na nindot kayahang iyang dalan white kaayo na pagkahuman kato di ay siya nga lugar, no, kanang ang mga prisoners kanang matripan ka sa mga prison guards, no, or mga officials. Dadto na dito ang mga prisoners niya pakaluto na sila. Diba? Pakaluton. Yan muna na ilahang grave. No? Nanuman kay adtuon sila dito sa kanang murag dead end nga kuan. Inya padaganon sila ana. Inya himuon sila kanang shooting practice ba. Sila mo'y pusilon while nagdagan sila ba mag-practice ang mga official sa ilahang shooting, mao na ang mga prisoners ang ilang ginahimo na, diba, target practice nila ang mga prisoners. So syempre wala mo survive kung dato na ka dito, diba? So mao to siya. So ingana ka kuan niya to the point nga ang mga tao tungod kay physical kay ang ilahang trabaho, no, na some would even resort to cannibalism. No, naa sila makitaan kay every day. So, daghan kaayong mga matay every day daghan kaayong mamatay. Ilang naipagawas nga gikan sa hospital, naa sila hospital pero kung makasulod ka sa hospital don't expect na makagawas na ka, no. Mura na kani sa hospital nato sa Bilibid Prison, no? Naami ka ng naaman mi ka ng exposure diha sa Bilibid Prison. So murag hospital diha nga mosulod ka di na daw kakagawas, no. But anyway, so naay kanang magdala kanang i-trolley na nila ba mga lawas nga kapatong-patong. Naay uban nga wala nay dalugan, naay uban nga wala nay kamot, no, walay mga kuan. Kay ang nahitabo daw ana kanon sa murag katong naa dito nga mga prisoners ilang kuhaan ba kay para reserve nila nga pagkaon, di ba? Imagine na murag grabe kaayo. ang ilahang situation. Mawala ang imong pagkatawo, murag violated the jud ka, feeling nimo dili na katawo no, for you to be able to survive. So the trauma that ang ilahang na experience ani no. So muna siya, but despite that no, despite sa mga abuso nga na experience ni Titus no. So one time kani si Titus nawala ang iyang glasses, nalimtan niya sa iyang cell. So what he did was, ipatawag naman sila, once ipatawag sila, mag-roll call para makita kung na-iskapo, pero di ka maka-iskapo. No? Grabe man, electricity ang ilahang mga ang ilang gate, no? So ni ana lagi ang mga prisoners kung di na sila kaantos, mudagan sila padulong dito sa gate para makurintihan sila, no? So ingana kakuan. So one time si Titus nibalik siya sa iyang cell kay kuwaon niya ang iyang eyeglasses, no? Paggawas niya, nakita siya sa usa sa mga prison guards. So isog kay prison guards, lagot kay siya kay nano man kang naadiri nga roll call man ron ana. So ang gihimo sa prison guard, imagine na 16 na siya ha, so weak pa siya kaayo. So gipatid-patiran hantud dili na siya makatindog. So si Titus ang gihimo, nagkamang na lang tawon si Titus pabalik sa iyahang selda. Hantud pagabot niya sa selda, dito siya naundangan og patid atong prison guard. But the next day, no, para siya sa prison guard nga nagpatid niya, good morning. No, so ang iyang mga fellow prisoners murag amazed kayo sa ilahan. Yun sama na nimo that you could afford to say hi to them. So munang for them kadaghanan mga witnesses no nga niingon sila, Titus became a light for them in a very 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 dark planet. For them they don't have hope in Dachau, pero on seeing Titus murag mas spark ang ilahang na-inspire sila sa Titus kasi he was always smiling, he was always, and he has the strength no for him to go on day by day despite the sufferings that he had to experience, despite him feeling like a cockroach, feeling like an insect no sa treatment sa iyaha no, he was still able to smile no. Mo daytong nadala si Titus sa hospital no, kasi before he died was because grabe nakailata na kayang tiil kay nawala man ang iyang sapatos, so di na siya makasapatos, so lata na kayang tiil. So ang gihimo sa usa sa mga kauban niya no, who was also a fellow Carmelite, si Rafael Tayhaus, was he convinced Titus na idala sa hospital para malimpyuhan ang iyahang samad sa tiil no. Mura to siya iyahang reason no, na gidala siya sa hospital. Pero pag abot dito sa hospital the next day, nabalik na lang sa ilahang selda ang gamit ni Titus no. There was a note na nag-expire na si Titus no. So ito siya, nakuha na siya lethal injection in the IC. But muna siya, even despite the sufferings that Titus had to go through, no, he had to experience at a time na dili na kaayo kumbaga maayo ang iyang lawas, no? And he had to go through all this. He was still able to be the light for so many, no? An inspiration for so many of his mga kauban sa prison. And because of that, he was an image of what it means to be human, what it means to live in the presence of God, day in and day out in his life. So, mao siguro na this is also one of the reasons. That's why when Sir Charles asked me to come up with something, no, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Although we undergo a lot of processing, no, from the very first day that we enter the Carmelites, no, formation ang tawag namo. Sige na may proseso. Usahay, I would give the kanang facilitator namo the evil eye kay accusing na kaayo siya ba mo nagingana antuan. dili lagi nga ni ka ano. We undergo a lot of that, no, to the process because we have to know ourselves better. But despite that, marag dili gyapon ni ka claim no, that we are able to we are experts on this on the subject. No? Pero siguro muna I thought that the experience of Titus Brandsma would help us, no? Just as it helped me, no, in my journey, and especially now in coping with kaning mga uh, grabe na actually it's grieving that we are undergoing, no? When we lost a lot of not literally na mga friends and ano, no, although apil na so siguro na siya, but even ang atuang ang atuang routine, no, ang atuang um, what we used to, ang atong freedom to go out, no, it's also we are also grieving for that, no? So and the life of Titus is a very good example, no, on how we would be able to cope, no? How he lived in the presence of God, how he held on um, to his belief, no, to his faith, no, that um, God is there, no? God will always be guided, and he is but an instrument, no, of the love of God for others. Ayun. So ayun, that ends the presentation, and I would like to invite you sana, no, but if you have base na ganahang question or unsaman, that's why I don't like Zoom, no, kaya sa hype amura ra ka monologue nag-istorya sa kaugaling. Hello na pabata. So if you have any questions or reflections or please do share.
Floor is open, everyone. If na questions, Sir Charles. Hello.
Yep. And from me, maybe we can proceed to, no?
Okay. Sige, we will proceed with the meditation. Okay lang po ba?
Sige, Father.
Go ahead, Father. Yeah.
So I would invite you, no, this is actually this is a reflection that I made when I was in the Netherlands, you know, reflecting on the life that Titus lived, you know, and how he was able to go through um, his passion, death, and eventual resurrection. Kumbaga. So, saan man. I would invite you. I will be flashing mga pictures, no, on the screen, and I would invite you to meditate on these pictures. But before that, no, to ourselves, no, to put ourselves in the proper disposition. I'd like you to take a deep breath. No? Inhale, exhale, then close your eyes and relax your mind, relax your body as you inhale and exhale, and slowly open your eyes and allow your vision to rest on the images that I will be flashing on the screen. Today, we meditate on the martyrdom of Titus. When you are beaten up every day, humiliated, and your humanity taken away from you, would you still be able to smile at the perpetrator and give him or her a blessing? When you have not eaten for days and worked your bones for the most part of the day, and you are so hungry, and so weak. You could you afford to share even a small piece of that small bread given to you when you have been robbed freedom and humanity, when you have been stripped naked, removed of all worldly source of self-respect? Would you be able to stand with dignity? In the concentration camps of the Nazis, the prisoners are treated not as human beings, but as the lowliest creatures ever created by God. They were nothing, useless, worthless. They have been reduced to nothing. Nada, nada, nada. But perhaps in this time of nothingness, we can only imagine a man whose whole life has been inspired by one of the great mystics of the church, Teresa of Avila, whose poem resonates in such a place of nothingness. Teresa writes, Nada te torbe, nada te espante, todo se pasa, Dios no se muda. La paciencia todo la alcanza, buena Dios tiene, nada le falta, solo Dios basta. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. While most of those who experience the horrors of the Nazi camp that is Dachau lose their humanity, there are those like Carmelite Father Titus Brandsma who became the light that guarded many along this dark path. Dachau has been described as a school of violence, where Nazi officers were trained on how to break a man, where the loss of humanity is celebrated. As such, it is no wonder when prisoners and guards alike would start to act so violently, even without provocation, or for the sheer fun of it, as with the case of the officers. But for Titus, Dachau was his Calvary, and his cross he carried with joyfulness that struck even the prison guards, whose cruelty knew no bounds. This Calvary, however, he did not ask, and his martyrdom he did not desire. In his garden of Gethsemane that is clean, he asked that this cup of sacrifice be taken away from him. But his obedience to the Father was so sure that he never wavered on his principle that was founded on the basic teachings of Christ. On May 28, 1942, he writes, the provincial could attempt to have it commuted to a transfer to a German monastery, with eventual extensive restriction of freedom and of permission to work, with the obligation of remaining in that city or perhaps in the convent, and of reporting in on a regular basis, of having no correspondence with Holland. The cup was not taken from him, and so he journeyed to Dachau, where he carried his cross along the path of martyrdom for roughly 37 days, from June 19, when he was admitted to Dachau, to July 26, 1942, his death. But his cross he carried even longer than that. For from the time he was arrested on January 19, 1940, he was already subjected to psychological torture and physical abuse. In his martyrdom, Titus was a witness to three important things. He was a witness of humanity, despite the cruelty that he had to endure. He never lost his humanity and was able to afford to show his fellow inmates and the guards the love that would radiate in his smile and in his daily greetings. He was constantly gentle, kind, and thankful even to the guards or the doctor who approved for the lethal injection to be administered. He was a witness of reconciliation. He was a man of forgiveness. When he was the spiritual director for Catholic journalists in the Netherlands, he was instrumental in reconciling the journalists and the union with the Dutch bishops. When he was arrested, he was asked by his interrogator, Captain Paul Hardigan, to write a statement that would retract his statements against the Nazis, but he stood by it. And in explaining his stand, in the end of his statement, he wrote, God bless the Netherlands. God bless Germany. May God grant that both nations will soon be standing side by side in full peace and harmony. These words of forgiveness made such a great impact on the German people after the war, most especially the German Canadians, who may have felt the heavy weight of the sin of their country. Titus was a witness to the presence of God. He was a witness to the strong faith in God, who shares in our suffering, in our life, and who is working with us. Titus truly is an inspiration for us all in truly living a life in the footsteps of Christ, his passion, death, and his resurrection. That is the memory that lives with us. Is indeed a life that we follow the footsteps of Christ. Daghang salamat sa inyong tanan ug maayong hapon.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you so much for that inspiring story, Father. It has been very challenging for journalists at this time, no? And as storytellers in general, I feel that we should all embody Titus Creed and way of life. And I believe that I'm speaking for everyone, Bud, when I say that that was a much needed meditation session. How's everyone feeling?
Yeah.
So far, so good. Cleansed, kumbaga, hopefully. Congratulations once again. That officially concludes this quick gathering. But before we leave the session and continue to keep on keeping on, let's have a group shot first, guys. Okay, everyone, please turn on your cameras. Ala, off man di ako. Can I have Kuya A? Can you do the screenshots? Is that okay? Oh wait, let me check. Maybe
Yeah,
I
sure.
can do. Sige, go. Ate
Yes,
Jade,
indeed.
Loki, Sir Doyce, Jewel, Miss Jewel, Miss Mitch. If you can lang, way pugsa na Sige, let's start. Ready, smile, 1, 2, 3. Okay, goods na,
One more,
yeah?
one more.
Sige, one more.
One more.
1, 2, 3. Okay?
Okay na.
Okay, sige. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Congratulations to the winners once again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Another good
Amping,
chat.
Yes, at
amping
the
tanan.
Richie, if they like, huh?
Bye.